What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of All In with Nate. As today is the conference championship game, so I would have done the show today, but I didn't really get a chance to. I've been going all weekend, but I had to talk about what took place on Thursday night. I actually was in the middle of doing another show when the news broke on Thursday, but the reports are out. Raheem Morris, as you see on the bottom of our screen, is our new head coach. He's our 19th head coach in team history and our very first black coach, which is going to sit well with a lot of fans. I know that's going to be something exciting to see. Is an African American GM, an African American head coach. You can't, if in this city, that's something awesome to see. But my initial reaction at the moment was, I thought we were going to get Bill Belichick. I thought that was a set deal, but things broke down between. I'm pretty much sure that broke down between him and Rich McKay. He wanted a little more control than he probably should have gotten at this stage of his career. And then also Raheem Morris, he fixed us, this organization well. He was with us, as you all remember. He started off as the receivers coach during the Dan Quinn era. He moved over to the defensive side of the ball, and he ended up taking the interim coaching position for the last 7 or 8 games of the season that after Dan Quinn got fired. Let me make sure to put some context out here before I dive deep into this Raheem Morris hiring. Number one, I seen a lot of folks the day that we hired him mentioned that he was here in 2020. What did he do? Let's be real, guys. Let's be so honest about this thing. Raheem Morris, when he took that interim position, Dan Quinn had just gotten fired. That Falcon team in 2020 was awful. That team was on the transition of a washed Matt Ryan, a Julio that couldn't stay healthy, a horrible defense. We were not good in 2020. So he tried to get the best out of what he could in that 2020 group. And straight up, they moved on and got Arthur Smith. He went to the Rams, got him a Super Bowl ring, did a solid job of that defense over there. So he did a lot of growing in LA. He went and won a championship, been a part of a good team out there. So to use 2020 as your excuse of why the 2024 Atlanta Falcons should not have hired Raheem Morris is a very horrible way to put it. I wanted to say ignorant, but I'm not going to be rude like that. But it's a bad way to put it when you are a fan of this team and you are sitting here looking at the fact that the Falcons organization, 4 years removed from that team, now are in a position where you got talent on the roster you can work with. So that's not the way that you should approach it. Raheem Morris is a good signing for the Falcons. I think he also, and then another thing, I wanted to put this up. I don't have it up on the screen, but I wanted to actually read this to you all from another device of mine, because I've seen a lot of people bringing up about him with his tenure in Tampa Bay. Well, I'm a really good Buccaneer fan. Put this out on social media. I'm going to read it to you guys. They're talking about the Bucs center for Raheem Morris. So in Tampa, he never really had a chance to see. The guy said that the Bucs ownership at the time was putting money into the Premier League, which is the Manchester United, and they wanted to go cheap and just build through the draft. So when he became their defensive coordinator at the time, I'm just going back to 08, as you know, the Buccaneers was now starting to transition away from those Super Bowl players in 08. So they never really had a good plan in place. They lost Monty Kiffin. They thought he was going to become the defensive coordinator, and he ended up being promoted to the head coach. Never really had a chance. They went 3-13 the first year, which is understandable. They lost all their talent. The second year, he took Josh Freeman and the Bucs to the post. He almost took them to the playoffs. The only reason that the Buccaneers didn't make the playoffs in 2010 was because the Falcons had the number 1 seed in the NFC, and the Saints won 11 games. You were 10-6, and the team that was the 6th seed was the Green Bay Packers. They won the Super Bowl that year. So you were 10-6 in a stacked NFC in 2010, and you missed the playoffs. And then in 2011, they just fell off. And, of course, he was the scapegoat of it. But that Buccaneer team was bad at that time. The Bucs didn't get good again until, 3-4 years ago? Like Tampa was the bottom of the division for about a decade going strong. So that was not a Raheem Morris thing. And I hate that for a while he was ridiculed because of that tenor in Tampa. So I don't want fans to take that and use that as your reasoning for why this man should not deserve a fair opportunity in Atlanta, because that's two different situations. And I will honestly say Raheem Morris did an excellent job as an assistant coach during his time as the Falcons. He was the receivers coach the year we went to the Super Bowl. So these are the things that this guy's, he's earned his way back. And I'm so happy he's got a chance to get back into the fold of things because he deserves that. And before I go a little deeper, I'm going to hit the comments real quick. Tell what's up, bro. It said, turn me up. Gary, what's going on, man? You know, I had to jump over here and talk about it. Jay, what's up, my boy? Said, yes, he took Josh Freeman, who's arguably one of the worst Buccaneers starting quarterbacks we've ever seen. They went to the They almost went to the playoffs. They were 10-6 with a bad Buck team. So, exactly, that's good coaching, and they don't give him enough credit for that. Byron said 21 wins with a bad Bucks team. You should have right. He was not ready at the time. And by the way, Raheem Morris was 32 when he took that position 14, 15 years ago. So he never really had a true opportunity to shine in Tampa. So it was a very unfair assessment at the time to use that against him in 2024. Let me keep going. What's up, brother? What's going on, Real? Matt, what's going on, bro? Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. I got it. The game that we played, the Saints, I got it for the throwback game. And Katie Bailey checking in said, my head coach is playing Falcons country. Let's ride. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, I do like the Raheem Morris addition to this team. I think he is fit to do the job. He's had high praise from several notable guys in the NFL. Jalen Ramsey said that the Falcons got one of the best head coaches in the National Football League on this Twitter hours after he was announced that he was the head coach. You also had Richard Sherman saying that he fits this team. And also, again, we're not making this a racial thing. We're going to just be brutally honest. He fits the culture of this city. This is a very proud city, proud African-American city. So you definitely will fit the culture. You get an opportunity as a black coach, and you're starting to see that trend. Gerard Mayo, who was a former player for the Patriots, he's getting the chance to become a head coach in New England. So you're starting to see the trend of potential head coaches in the NFL that you see either play or been in the coaching game for a while get an opportunity. And to me, from a non-Falcons perspective, you cannot sit here and tell me that the success that DeMeco Ryans just showed with the Texans, taking them to the divisional round, is not going to play factors when coaches start getting opportunities down the road. It's going to be, you may see more of this take place. So I'm excited for him. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the Falcons organization. And then another key thing came out. I'm going to share the screen and talk about from the press release that I know all of us are ready to talk about. For one, I want to make sure that I hit this one right here. I definitely got to hit this. I'm not talking about this. Okay, this comes from a source on social media. When the Falcons named Raheem Morris head coach, I'm going to read it. The Atlanta Falcons named Raheem Morris as Raheem's head coach. Morris and the Falcons general manager, Terry Fontenot, will report directly to Arthur Blank, the Atlanta Falcons owner and chairman, on all football matters. Rich McKay remains the CEO of A&B Sports Entertainment and continues to represent the team on league matters and the NFL's competition committee. Grant Beatles remains the president of the Falcons and will continue overseeing business operations. Now, one thing, and I'm going to come back to the screen on that note. The one thing that us Falcon fans know best, we have been screaming for the last 10 or so odd years, that Rich McKay was a big problem on this team in this organization. If you watched the press conference a couple of weeks ago, I did not get a chance to do a show talking about it. It was a comedy show. Because when Rich McKay and Arthur Blank sat down to discuss Arthur Smith getting fired, there was no sign of Terry Fontenot. You do not do a press conference and your GM is not present. You did not see that through any year that Thomas Dimitroff was here. But as you saw, the Atlanta media had a field day. The fan base had a field day. So Arthur Blank is paying attention to the noise that we saw. They were definitely catching heat about that press conference. Believe me when I tell you that. That was not even a joke. They caught heat behind that press conference. Believe that. And you're seeing it. And now I think that's a tremendous move by the Falcons to go ahead and no longer have him in part of football operations. Rich McKay was the GM during the Michael Vick era. Michael Vick has not been our quarterback since 2007. Why is he still a part of the organization? He's the only person that was still left over, not named Arthur Blank, from the organization. He needed to go. He should have been out of the way. If you notice, back in 2008, when Mike Smith became the head coach, Rich McKay was out of the mix for football operations. As he was with them and Thomas Dimitroff worked together. The Falcons went on a 5-year winning season streak, which was the longest tenure in Falcon history at the time. So, again, you've seen the results when you take the man out of the equation of something that he shouldn't be a part of. I respect what he's done business-wise, but football-wise, there's a reason you did not work out as the GM of the Atlanta Falcons. Let's be honest, that man only drafted one good player, and well, two. Roddy White was a good pick. Jonathan Babineau was a good pick. The rest of his draft picks, they were very, very average, if we're going to be honest. So Rich McKay needed to be out of the mix. And he also did not need to be involved in the signing of a head coach. I do think he played a factor in why Bill Belichick did not show up in Atlanta. I do think he played a factor. But once again, he didn't need to be a part of the process. But I also respect the fact that Arthur Blank seen it was time for him to no longer have this man a part of your organization in football matters. He needed to worry about NFL rules, not the Atlanta Falcons. Because if you are a Falcons fan, maybe they're not a Falcons fan. If you've been watching this team for a while, you knew Rich McKay has been a problem. He's been an issue for years, and you saw it firsthand. And now that issue can finally be distinguished. Thank goodness. You can finally get rid of that factor. Now you're going to finally see Terry Fontenot, who I really think is a good GM. And let me also put this out here on record. For all of you that's been talking about Fontenot made those picks, though, that was not true. If you watch the press conference the day after Arthur Smith got fired, they said that Arthur Smith called more of the shots on the draft picks, and he took care of free agency and offseason signings. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard, but they said it live on air. You can go find Atlanta Falcons press conference, and you can see it there. They said it on there. It was the dumbest thing I ever read. But that's how dysfunctional we were at the time with those two. It also played a big factor in why Arthur Smith didn't work out here either. So I'm glad they're finally going the smart direction. You let the guys that are meant to do football duties do football duties. Because straight up, now I will be the first one to say this. I'm not putting too much on the Falcons for this upcoming season, straight up. But the one thing that I will say is this. The roster's not far off from being a team to make the playoffs. So the biggest thing you got to do is get a quarterback in here. That's the number one thing. And I'll talk about the offensive coordinator that we just got last night. I'll bring him up shortly. But that's going to be a key thing. But let me catch up on some of these comments real quick. Myers, going on, bro? Say Raheem the Dream deserves a second chance. I'm on board for this. Also, my head coach, my owner is black. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is the number one thing that I'm proud of the most. We get to finally see them do football matters between the GM, head coach, and the owner the way it should have been, and not this chain of command that don't exist in no other organization. Let me hit on this. Raheem the Dream was going on, Jordan. What's up, nephew? He said, man, won 10 games with Josh. Yes, it does. It speaks a lot of volumes. Absolutely speak a lot of volumes. The Urban Crime. What's going on, bro? Hey, man, y'all make sure y'all follow this guy, too. He got a lot of great content over there at the Urban Crime. DCM said that Rich McKay had been an issue yes, he had been an issue forever. He had definitely been an issue for a long time. And the Falcon organization, we thought it was just never going to happen at the way it was going because, once again, it was a big problem. He's been a problem for years. He also hurt us getting other head coaches in here in previous years. Maybe finally you can eliminate that issue all the way out of the play. Tevin Records, I'm going to disagree with you, Nate. The Falcons I'm not going to say that they don't need to make the playoffs. I think the team isn't far off from being in the postseason because look at the field that made the playoffs this year. Because when you look at, and this is no disrespect to the other NFC teams that made the playoffs, when you look at the group that made the postseason, you knew the Eagles, the Niners, the Cowboys, and the Lions. You knew the four were going to make it. Now, Green Bay impressed when they got in the postseason. They nearly beat the 49ers last week. So you can say there was 5 teams that was pretty worthy of being there. Well, Tampa made it to the divisional round. I'm not going to disrespect the run that they put together and got to the divisional round. And the Rams, they made a postseason appearance too. So again, you're going to see you're going to see that kind of change. So it's time to go ahead and you are right. The Falcons have had 7 straight losing seasons. It is time to make the playoffs. I think the team has what it takes to make the postseason with the right offseason. I don't think they're far off from putting this thing together to really make a solid run in the NFC South, especially with the way the division is set up right now. Anthony, what's going on, bros? They bring Nate in as the GM. Hey, man, I'm going to leave that to Terry Fontenot, but I would never disagree with that. He said to kill that mid-level thinking / play. It's time to go be. Yeah, it's time to go be great again. And I think that those steps are being made in the right direction right now. Myron also said thoughts on the offensive coordinator so far. What direction do you think we will go with QB now? I prefer to get a vet and draft somebody for the future. Okay, I'm glad that you brought it up. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the post talking about Zach Robinson that came in last night. I'm not sure if you all heard of it. I'm going to go full screen real quick. So the Falcons have hired Rams pass game coordinator Zach Robinson as their new offensive coordinator, Raheem Morris. One of the most popular interviews on the offensive coordinator circuit, Robinson was Morris's top choice. One thing that I want to go ahead and say firsthand, I am so happy we were able to get him because first thing first, the Falcons made a huge mistake years ago under the Kyle Shanahan tenure when Dan Quinn was here. Because when you look at the offensive coaching staff on that 2016 Atlanta Falcons team, most of them are head coaches now. Matt LaFleur was the QB coach. He's now the Green Bay Packers head coach. Mike McDaniel is the Dolphins head coach. Of course, we know Kyle Shanahan. He's going to be competing for a trip to the Super Bowl today. So you've seen the potential in the staff. And Sean McVay is another one of those great play callers in the National Football League. And this guy's been under his tenure for the last couple of years. And for him to be a popular name under the offensive coordinator market, and for him to say, I'm going to follow Raheem Morris to Atlanta, it speaks a lot. So that can tell you right now, the Falcons will be a West Coast offense for sure. So I definitely think that the Falcons do need to go get a quarterback in the draft, or I'm not opposed to whatever the price is for Justin Fields. I have no issue with going after Justin Fields if it sets itself up well. Because, once again, you want to have a young quarterback. Because, truth be told, a average quarterback play could put this team at 9 to 10 wins next season. And I'm not trying to throw too many expectations on this team yet. I'm not. Because new scheme, new head coach, I think that they have the potential to be a playoff team next year. But you know, I'm not going to jump out here and say playoffs next year. But do they have the potential to be there next year? Yes. They can. They can definitely do it. But get a good quarterback in here. You got a solid offensive scheme, and you got pieces. You got Kyle Pitts, who I think has not been unleashed yet. I know a lot of folks want to scream he's a bust. I don't think he's had a chance to really show his full potential yet because of the QB situation in Atlanta. Matt Ryan on his last year made this man a Pro Bowler. So the potential is there. Drake London is a solid wide receiver. I know a lot of folks don't see it in the numbers, but Drake London is a really good wide receiver. I don't think he's been fully tapped into like he could be due to the quarterback situation and Arthur Smith as well. So that's another guy to look out for. You got Bijan Roberts, you got Tyler Algier. So you got weapons to start off with. I still think the Falcons should add another wide receiver at some point in the draft, but I truly think that at this point, you definitely have to look at getting you a quarterback of some sort. But I also don't have an issue with drafting a veteran, getting a veteran quarterback and drafting somebody for the future. Because if you do that, then you could find yourself pursuing a Kirk Cousins or a Russell Wilson, even though they're not my top guys that I would go after. But if you're doing that and you want to go the cheap route to develop a Michael Penix Jr. or a Jaden Daniels, who would probably, well, Jaden, I don't know, Jaden may not be on the board at 8 because Jaden may go to the Commanders. But you're going to have like Michael Penix Jr., who's going to be in that range. Or maybe you could get him in the second round. We'll see. We're going to see how the mocks see this thing play out. The combine hasn't happened yet. So these guys have not had a chance to increase or decrease their stock just yet. So we'll see what happens. But I do think in some capacity that it will be a vet QB and a rookie QB mix up in some way. Frank Green, what's going on, man? He said, the Raheem. Yes, sir. I'm definitely on board with Raheem Morris. I think he's going to he's going to do well for the Falcons. Tevin Ratcliffe said, bring my boy Fields home. I know you want to bring Fields home. I definitely know you want to bring him home. And Terrence Gay said, what's up? What's going on, bro? What's going on, cousin? But, yeah, I do like the direction that the Falcons have started off in. We don't have a defensive coordinator just yet. It's going to be something to watch out for. Although Raheem Morris will more than likely be really hands-on with the defensive unit. So I think the Falcons – well, last season, the Falcons ran a 3-4 scheme. The Rams ran a 3-4 scheme in LA. So it could potentially see a 3-4 defense here in Atlanta as well, which I think we somewhat was the 3-4 defense last year because, of course, you had Lorenzo Carr line up on the outside. You had Arnold and McKay line up on the outside. So depending on what we do at quarterback, I've seen several mock drafts have the Falcons going pass rusher at 8. And it's simply because when you look at the situation for the Falcons right now, yes, we definitely need a quarterback. That's actually the number one need on the team. But the other big need for the Falcons right now is a pass rusher because Calais is 37. He don't have much left in him. He had a solid year for the Falcons on defense, but you need that young pass rusher that can rip it up for years to come. Grady Jarrett's coming off an injury. Grady's a solid defensive tackle, but Grady's also entering that back half of his career. David Ayamada, he's 31. He's entering that back half of his career. So it's definitely going to be one to watch out for if you're the Falcons to see if they decide we're going to go pass rusher at 8. And there are some guys like Dallas Turner from Alabama, like Jarrett versus Florida State. So there's guys that are in that spot that could fit the 3-4 defense. So that's going to be something to watch out for this offseason. It's free agency will tell us a lot that we'll do going forward for the Falcons. Hit another one of these comments. Frank Green, I see y'all trading a 2nd and 4 for Fields and taking Jarrett versus 8. I can see that. That would be a solid scenario because I actually seen I think Sports Illustrated did a mock draft and had the Falcons trading a 2nd, and I think it was another draft pick in the draft to get Justin Fields as well. So that's another thing that we were that be on the lookout for if you are the Falcons this offseason. We want to see what Terry Fontenot and company do. But just to give you guys an early mock projection, Walter Football has the Falcons taking Dallas Turner out of Alabama. They said the Falcons can't possibly go into 2024 with Desmond Ridder as a starter again. However, this is too early to draft J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix Jr. Atlanta may go veteran after veteran anyways, given that the team is ready to win now. the Falcons may decide to fix their edge rush instead, and Dallas Turner is the perfect fit. He is he's drawing comparison to Brian Burns. I love Brian Burns for Carolina. So I would absolutely love a Dallas Turner in a Falcon uniform. He's a really solid pass rusher. That's what Walter Football was saying. I want to throw out here. Also, CBS Sports had the Falcons taking Dallas Turner as well at number 8. They said that opposing quarterbacks was feeling really comfortable against Atlanta's pass rush last season. Dallas Turner gives the Falcons a player capable of moving the needle. QB is the number one concern, but there are none available worthy of his consideration unless a team falls in love with J.J. McCarthy. So as you see, they're kind of projecting after Jaden, Drake, and Caleb are off the board that it may be a minute before quarterbacks come off the board again, which is understandable. And I think that the Falcons do need to take heed to that, because if you can find yourself taking Michael Penix in the second round, if he doesn't kill the combine, go back and get him in the second round. You know, I think a rookie's going to get drafted in the first 2 rounds regardless, but I do think that this could be a best player available on defense scenario if you're the Falcons. But another mock, the one that I was talking to you guys about was from Sports Illustrated. They have the Falcons as well taking Dallas Turner. And in their mock, they had the Falcons trading for Justin Fields and bringing in Dallas Turner to address the issue at pass rush, which we all saw was one of our big issues. And that's a big reason why we lost several games at the end. We lost the Cardinals game because we couldn't bring down Kyler Murray on the third down and long. They ended up getting a game-winning field goal. Josh Dobbs should have been brought down several times, and the Vikings lost, and that ended up helping them win. So you got to address that pass rush, because the defense was way better last season, but you got to address your pass rush if you plan on having a successful 2024. So several mocks have been going after saying Dallas Turner as a Falcon fix, and I would love that, because we really haven't had a legitimate pass rusher since John Abraham was our pass rusher for 7 years from 2006 to 2012. So we need that again. We really do. We got a lot of pressure last year with the group that we have, and you probably could see Arnold Ebiketie take another step. Zach Harrison played well, but those guys, to me, are rotational defensive ends or defensive pass rushers. You need you a big time. This guy right here, I got to double team him every snap. Look at what Will Anderson did in Houston. He should be the rookie of the year on defense, but we'll see. But again, that's the direction that the Falcons constantly could be going. But all in all, my final thoughts on bringing in Raheem Morris, I love it. Raheem Morris, I think I think the players are gonna want to go in for him. This is a young team. He can match the young team's energy, and I think it's gonna show a lot on the field this season for the Falcons. So looking forward to it, fans. Looking forward to see what the Falcons do under Raheem Morris. We'll get a chance to see more news as it comes about over the next couple of weeks. Of course, we just found out about our offensive coordinator last night. So, again, I'm looking forward to it, everyone. So, I give the move a solid grade. I give it a B plus A minus. So, I could really be thrilled about that. And I got one more comment I want to hit real quick. Frank Green said, how do you feel about them getting Wilson and Cousins? I think that could be the direction, that you get a veteran quarterback and go draft a rookie and let them coach the other one up. That could be the case. And then bring in Robinson from the Rams organization. I know he's going to be working with that QB situation well too. So I don't have an issue with it. I do still think you need to get you a rookie that you can develop, and he can be your signal caller for the foreseeable future. But I do think that a veteran is not a bad option either. But on that note, this has been my thoughts on the hiring of Raheem Morris. I should be back on here next week talking about the Super Bowl, whoever makes the Super Bowl. I didn't get a chance to do a playoff lead up to these 2 games, and I apologize about that. But again, be on the lookout for that. And of course, I'll be on here to talk mock drafts and Falcons football as the offseason get ready to approach. But good luck to the teams that are remaining in the playoffs today. This has been your special edition of All In with Nate. Until next time, You guys enjoy the games today.